Good morning. In this part, our group will explain about complaint letter. Do you know complaint letter? If you don't know complaint letter, you can watch these videos. Members of the group are 1. Muhammad Alfi Koiri, 2. Ronaldo Prakoso, 3. Putri Della Ramadhani, 4. Ana Azizah, 5. Nur Cahyati, 6. Me, Niken Kusuma Melati. And on this part, we can discuss about first, definition of complaint letter, 2. The reason sent of complaint letter, 3. Part of complaint letter, 4. Method to create complaint letter, 6. These letters are suitable for use in England, Wales, and Scotland. And then tips and trick if you don't want to be complaint letter back. And the last example of complaint letter and the structure.
Hello guys, my name is Ronaldo Prakoso. Here I will explain the definition of complaint letter. A complaint letter or letter of complaint is normally written to deal with a problem situation when other items, i.e. phone contact, email, etc. They failed to rectify the situation. The complaint letter formalizes a problem situation by putting it writing and is usually the last resort to try to get a situation resolved. The complaint might be so complex that a phone call might not effectively resolve the problem, or the writer might prefer the permanence, formality, and seriousness of a business letter. The essential rule is writing a complaint letter is to maintain your poise and diplomacy, no matter how justified your grade is. Avoid making the recipient an adversary. Thanks.
Here, I will explain about reason send of complaint letter. We send a complaint letter to supplier because some reason. They are: first, the late of the good delivery. Complaint letter because the late of the good delivery can be sent to supplier when the ordered goods are delivered late from the agreed delivery deadline. This letter is indicated that the goods are sent immediately. The second is the good order are different from one question. Complaint letter because the good order are different from one question can be sent to supplier when the good received is different from the good order. The discrepancy is, for example, in model, size, color, and etc. And the last is the good condition is broken or damaged. Complaint letter because the condition of good is broken or damaged can be sent to supplier when the buyer received is good in broken or damaged condition caused before packaging or other reason beyond the responsibility of buyer. If a customer is dissatisfied with the execution of his order, they will complain. In doing so, they should then specify the nature of the complaint and finally state what action they want supplier to take action.
Parts of complaint letter. Parts of complaint letter number 1 is heading. The sender's address usually is included in letterhead. If you're not using letterhead, include the sender's address at the top of the letter, one line above the date. Don't write the sender's name or title, as it is included in letter's closing. Include only the street address, city, and zip code. The heading usually include logo of company, the name of company, the trail address, and detailed contact, example email or telephone. Number 2 is date. When we create this letter, we must write when we write the letter on the right, under the heading. The date line is used to indicate the date the letter was written. However, if our letter is complete over a number of days, use the date it was finished in the date line. And then, number 3, inside address. The inside address is the recipient's address. It is always best to write to a specific individual at the firm to which we are writing. If we don't know the person's name, do some research by calling the company or speaking with employees from the company. To write the address, use the US Post Office format. For international addresses, type the name of the country in all capital letters on the last line. The inside address begins one line below the sender's address or 1 inch below the date. It should be left justified, no matter which format you are using. Number 4, salutation. In salutation, if we don't know the name of the persons we are writing to, so we are writing Dear Amazon Customer Service Assistant or Dear Manager. And if we know the name of the recipients, so we write Dear Mr. Smith, Dear Sarah, etc. So number 5 is body of letter. When writing a business letter, be careful to remember the conciseness is very important. In the first paragraph, consider a friendly opening and then a statement of the main point. The next paragraph should begin justifying the importance of the main point. In the next few paragraphs, continue justification with background information and supporting details. The closing paragraph should restate the purpose of the letter, in some case, request some type of action. Number 6 is closing. The closing begins at the same vertical points as your date and one line after the last body paragraph. Capitalize the first word only, for example, thank you. And leave 4 lines between the closing and the sender's name for a signature. If a follows the salutation, a comma should follow the closing. Otherwise, there is no punctuation after the closing. Number 7 is enclosures. If you have enclosed any document along with the letter, such as a resume, you indicate this simply by typing enclosures one line below the closing. As an option, you might list the name of each document you are including in the envelope. For instance, if you have included many documents and need to ensure that the recipient is aware of each document, it might be a good idea to list the names.
Okay, in this part, me, Niken Kusuma Melati, will explain about method to create complaint letter. Do you know to write complaint letter? There are 3 points in the paragraph. There are first opening, second body paragraph, and the last is closing. Let's explain about opening. In the opening, you can introduction your company and introduction that clearly or sum the question or sum the word with why you are writing the message. And then second, the body paragraph. The body that provide the reader with information so they can respond to the complaint. Or the point of the part is same with provide information. And then the body paragraph include 3 points. And then in these 3 points you can most remember or this part is very important. And one is the reason for writing complaint letter. And the 2, a brief description of the situation. And the last is how we want the recipient to solve the problem. We'll explain about the reason for writing a complaint letter. We have written the opening or in our first sentence we can give reason for writing the letter. The example of phrases you can use to describe the situation. And in the phrases you can read in the PPT like this. A brief description of the situation is product or service that we are unhappy, we need to tell about it. So our recipient know exactly why we have written the letter. This part, a brief description of the situation. Usually there are problem cause and problem effects. The problem cause, for example, you can read on this write me, and then the problem effect you can read on the write me too. And then the 3, how we want the recipient to solve the problem. When saying what we want, we use important verb, replace, review, send, bring, give, no to, no models. The solution like you can read on this write me too. And then the last of the method to create the complaint letter is closing. Finally, in the closing or in the conclusion, you say what action do you want or same with list of method to create complaint letter. There are closing. Finally, in the closing or in the conclusion, you can say what action do you want or the word same with the action you want the reader to take. In this closing, Please keep calm and keep your emotion under control. You may be very disappointed with something, but remember to be respectful and polite. Thank you. And then the part of materials will explain another friend.
Next, I will explain the next material. Usually in England, Wales or Scotland, use a package of documents that includes the following letters when complaining about damaged goods or poor service. The document package includes the following letters: 1. Faulty goods. 2. Faulty goods bought on credit. 3. Poor services. 4. Poor services bought on credit. 5. Final letter before action for faulty goods or poor services. 6. Final demand for payment of an outstanding invoice. And 7. Demand to pay promissory note. Let me explain one by one. 1. Faulty goods. Letter to the seller complaining about faulty goods and asking for a replacement or a refund. 2. Faulty goods bought on credit. Letter to a credit company complaining about faulty goods and asking for a replacement or a refund. If the contract price is worth £100 or more and the seller arranged credit for you, you have my additional rights as the credit company may be equally responsible for faulty goods. You should write to the seller or the credit company or both. 3. Poor services. Letter to the seller complaining about poor services and asking for a repair or a replacement. 4. Poor services bought on credit. This is the same. A letter to a credit company complaining about poor services and asking for a repair or a replacement. If the contract price is worth £100 or more and the supplier arranged credit for you, you may have additional rights as the credit company may be equally responsible for poor services. You should write to the seller or credit company or both. 5. Final letter before action for faulty goods or poor services. Final letter to the seller or credit company complaining about faulty goods or poor services and intimating that you purpose to raise court proceedings unless you receive a response within 7 days. 6. Final demand for payment of an outstanding invoice. This is the same. Final letter to a customer regarding an outstanding invoice intimating that you purpose to raise court proceedings unless you receive payments within 7 days. And the last, demand to pay promissory note. Letter to the maker of a promissory note demanding payment and intimating that you purpose to raise court proceedings unless you receive payment within a number of days.
Okay, I want to explain about tips and tricks if you do not want to be complained back so that you can get satisfaction. There are several tips and tricks that needs attention if you do not want to be complained back. Number 1, this is quickly get your problem. It's always better to be direct. Just clearly explain the situation. It's not worth wasting both your and their time. Number 2, this is tell them about your desire. You should definitely include your expected resolution in the mail. The more clearly the better. And don't forget to set a time limit for solution. You can also ask for early reply. Number 3, wait is respectfully. You might be agree or very dissatisfied now, but being polite is still a must. It does not matter whom you are writing to. Use a positive and respectful tone. Number 4, this is do not be afraid. Complaints is not something mean. If you complain, it's reasonable and must not be negative. Something is good for you decipher. If your mind can make them realize their wrong problem and improve the future. Be honest, trying comfortable, and remember you are not a witch who is harming other people. Sometimes this type of mail is so common that several major businesses have to deal with on daily basis.
Okay, thank you for your attention, for watch the video and listen our description about what the complaint letter and etc. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, you can ask to our group. Thank you.